Did you hear that? I told you the volume was all the way up. Okay. You didn't believe me. Okay. So our speaker today is Mr. Mike Kincaid. And every year, I mean, everybody knows this, every year at the end of January, the beginning of February, we pause to remember the three crews that we have lost, the Apollo 1 and both Space Shuttle Challenger and Columbia. And I know everybody in the room was touched by one or all of those events. So um, there's been a lot of debate and a lot of discussion over the years about whether we learned anything from those accidents or whether anything good came out of those accidents. We're not going to debate that today. Those debates are still going on, but that's not what we're here for today. From the tragedy of the Challenger accident, something really good did come about, and that is in the form of the Challenger Centers. So our speaker, Mr. Kincaid, is the president and executive director of the Challenger Centers. Today, he's going to share with us the work he does to ensure that the next 40 years of Challenger Centers will be as dynamic and as enriching. English is not my first language, just so you know. No, that's a fact. Uh, Anyways, we want to see the Challenger Center continue for at least the next 40 years. So Mike oversees the Challenger Center's efforts to advance its mission of inspiring and engaging the next generation of STEM professionals through unique, hands-on STEM programs delivered at Challenger Learning Centers and in classrooms. Prior to coming to the Challenger Center, Mike enjoyed a 37-year career at NASA. He first joined NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas as an intern in 1987 and went on to lead various organizations at JSC, including serving as Director of Education, Deputy Director of Human Resources, and Deputy Chief Financial Officer. He was also my boss as the Director of External Relations at JSC. Came close to firing me, but couldn't quite pull it off. And in that office, he did have to interact with a lot of stakeholders across the country. Because he couldn't get rid of me, they moved him on up to headquarters, where he served as the Associate Administrator of NASA's Office of STEM Engagement, or OSTEM. For 7 years, he oversaw the strategic direction and leadership in engaging America's educators, students, and institutions in NASA's missions, contributing to both NASA's mission success and the broader U.S. STEM education ecosystem. And that's a real important word. The list of accomplishments and Mike's engagement with STEM and education goes on and on, which is what positions him really well for his current role. Mike retired from NASA in 2024 and is a proud member of the NASA Alumni League. So let me turn it over to Mike. We're going to start sharing screen.
I think I can hold that handheld. Is this one here? So like you did? Hold that one here.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work in here.
See, can you hear me better if I use that?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what they're getting online.
Well, but I'll stand.
Yeah, right? Until now, right. Okay, so we're sharing the screen. Need to get rid of all these banners. So. All right, where did it go?
Hey Bob, I can see Bob right online. Can you hear us okay? I saw him just a second. Can you give us a thumbs up if you can hear us?
Okay.
Okay, good. While she's doing this, I'll just say
Hey, Lisa, if you can hear us, there's no audio or video of the speaker for Zoom participants.
All right, can you hear me? Thank you, Ellen. Can you hear me online now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It was weird because I looked and saw a host by my name, but all I did was click on the link to join the Zoom. So
Perfect. Well, thank you for hosting us in my absence. Do appreciate it. All right, so we're going to try that again. Yeah, so it kicked us off, just so you know. And when I logged back on, somebody else had Ellen had the host role, and nobody but the host can unmute or change their camera. So, anyways, let's see. And there we go. Now we're back with you live. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to try this again. Mike has been so very gracious and very patient with all the technology challenges that we're having. It's a brand new year, don't you love it? So we are going to try one more time to share his presentation and make sure that we're still recording. Good. So that part worked. All right. It is. Share sound.
Okay, hopefully you guys are seeing the Challenger Center on the screen. Okay, thank you, Lisa. And I hope everyone online could hear the opening part where I was talking about the fact that I am a proud NASA alumni member, thrilled about that. And I'm excited to be here. And Lisa kind of explained 37 years at NASA, 30 years here in Houston. Excited to be here. Retired November 30th of 2024 and started with Challenger December 2nd. So I had a whole Sunday off where I was not. But I've loved my time at Challenger. And I'm really excited to be able to tell you about where we've been, but particularly where we're going. So 39 years. So I'll just say that people in this room, you know where you were in 1986, last Wednesday. 8 days ago, we honored the 40th anniversary. And one of the things I'm so impressed with is that the families created Challenger Center within less than 90 days later. Challenger Center was created. And if you just stop and think about that, to think about all the things they were going through, it tells you about the families. It also tells you about the state of the world that people came together to make it possible to create Challenger Center. And so here we are. We're about to celebrate our 40th anniversary of Challenger Center on April 24th. We're actually somewhere between 6.5 to 7 million kids have been part of a Challenger experience over those last 40 years. More about that in a second. So, okay, which button do I push to move forward? Not those buttons. Maybe it's just. There you go. Okay. What you may not know is that there's actually 33 Challenger Centers all across the country. There used to be one in Houston, and you're probably wondering this question. Hey, there used to be one at Houston Museum of Natural Science. And yes, it shut down about 10 years ago or so. And what I would tell you is when we first started Challenger Centers, they typically were at museums and science centers, or sometimes K-12 institutions. But what we found is that museums and science centers need to be able to accommodate hundreds or thousands of kids in a day. And Challenger Centers really, we're a small batch process. A great Challenger Center, we have 3 in Texas. You can see here on this map, there's one in Waco, there's one in San Antonio, there's one in Harlingen. A good day for us is 60 kids, 2 classrooms. They come in, they spend 2 hours a day, the next class comes in. And so for us, a good day is 60 kids. Space Center Houston, in April, they'll have thousands of kids. And so I don't think it's a good or bad, it's just different. So for us, and you'll see pictures of this in a moment. What I remember talking about NASA so many times, we would say things like, if we could just show the rest of the country what NASA's doing, it'd be really cool. And so I'd love to put this picture in front of NASA people, because if you look carefully, you'll find that there's only one that's near NASA Center. The rest of them are someplace else. We're opening up one on the border of Alabama and Georgia in a couple of months. And it's like 2 hours from Huntsville. It's a 10-county region of Alabama that's very poor. Doesn't have a lot of industry, and so this will be a beacon to them. This will stand out to them. Next week I'll be in Pittsburgh, outside of Pittsburgh, at a little town called Indiana, Pennsylvania, and this will be a mecca for kids in that area to come to a Challenger Center. So we're finding our growth in the next few Challenger Centers. One in Iowa we're talking to, one in South Dakota, and it's interesting to see how Challengers have been evolving over time. Again, this is kind of foreshadowing what's coming. I want to show you this video.
Mike, can you,
Sorry.
the slides aren't advancing on Zoom. We're just seeing your title slide with actually partially blacked out, and it's not in. Okay. Oh, there
You
we
see
go.
this?
Yeah, I did. For a second there, you were in slideshow mode too, which makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, that was just on accident. But it's so funny here, Ellen. Let's see. What do I do now?
You go back to presentation mode.
Okay.
So all the way down at the bottom, yeah.
Have little black bars in the way. Here.
So presentation notes right there.
So Ellen, your job is to give us cues from at home. And Jerry Ross is sitting in the front row, and his job is to remind me to put the microphone close to my mouth. So I've got 2 astronauts coaching me, so I'm having
What could go wrong?
what could go wrong?
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, Ellen, are you seeing the legacy of the Challenger crew? Are you seeing a new slide?
We are seeing that. It's not in slideshow mode, and there's still that funny black rectangle covering part of it.
Yeah, I can't get rid of the rectangle.
Okay.
Let me see if we can get the video to play.
I don't, yeah.
This was working last night.
We used to say that in space too. It worked on the ground.
Did I go the wrong way?
Yeah, this is going back or forward.
Yeah, nothing's changing for us if you see things changing.
Okay, well that's good because you're not supposed to see these slides yet, so we'll work on that here. This is all going. Oh, I see. No, this is all.
It's going the wrong way.
Yeah, like this way. Yeah, don't look. You don't see these charts.
Here it is. Okay, see if we can get it. So I tried it this way, but I think that's going to take us out to the internet to watch it.
I really want you to see this video. I have to admit, I would just bail, but it's really such a fun video.
In January 1986, the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger set out on a mission inspired.
I'm just gonna pause. Ellen, can you guys see that video when we started it?
No, can hear it, cannot see it.
Okay, Looks like there's a time lag with the.
But, you know, I mean, I don't want to hold up your presentation, so we will listen to you and listen to the audio of the,
Yeah.
of the video.
We may have to just do that and then maybe send the link out for this. Yeah, you could do a search on YouTube. Absolutely. I wish there's 2 versions of it. There's one that's like 1 minute 46 seconds. If you find it on Challenger Center, or our YouTube channel will show it to you. I'm going to go ahead and press play for those of you in the room. Restart it too.
January 1986, the crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger
set out on a mission inspired by education. These heroes came from all walks of life: pilots, engineers, physicists, teachers. Yet they were united by a love of learning and a passion for exploration. When the crew tragically perished shortly after launch, their families made an extraordinary decision. They vowed that the mission would continue, that the memory of the crew would continue to inspire discovery. They created Challenger Center, a living legacy that brings the crew's passion for learning to students around the world. Every day, Challenger Learning Centers launch students into space through hands-on simulations. The moment they walk through the doors, they're transformed. Suddenly, they're astronauts, geologists, roboticists, and more, working together to land on the moon, repair satellites, and explore Mars and beyond. In these missions, science, math, engineering, and technology, sometimes called STEM fields, come to life. Curiosity sparks, confidence grows, and students begin to imagine themselves one day working in STEM. This is the legacy of the Challenger crew, carried forward every day by the students who discover new possibilities for themselves and our future.
Okay. Lisa, how am I going to get back to the charts? There we go. There we are. Okay.
There they are.
No.
And then just a dance.
With the world in chaos, what's really needed is someone to finally make sense of human seemingly mad behavior, which is actually what Australian biologist Jeremy Griffith, who I consider to be the newest Charles Darwin, has done in this incredible interview. His world-saving breakthrough
We're trying to turn it off.
and psychologically healing understanding of ourselves, which is the fundamental paradigm shift we need to save the human race.
I'm completely shocked.
Whew, she's completely shocked. Okay. I don't know who that man or woman was. It has nothing to do with Challenger Center. Here we are. Thank you for your flexibility today. You know, I think all of us at NASA did learn resilience from things that came, and so I'm using those skills hard. So thank you for all those experiences. All right. For those of you online, I promise you that you would have seen these awesome pictures of these kids having an awesome time inside of the Challenger Center. You can find the link to the website and see that video in person. But thank you very much. If you were a donor, I'll mention donations or opportunities to partner with us a couple of times. So if you were a donor, you would have gotten this impact report back in September. I'm proud to tell you that over 200,000 kids last school year, the 24-25 school year, participated in a Challenger experience, and 86,000 went through one of our space themed missions. So I love the fact that we have kids from all across the country that are able to learn and be part of this. So our core programs, 2 things. We have center missions. So when students come to us, and you'll hear more from one of our alumni here in a moment, centers, they come to a mission, and you saw that kind of online. We've also revamped something that we're now calling satellite challenges, and I'll talk more about that in a second as well. Those are a way for us to reach kids wherever they might be. So satellite challenges, you can kind of see off in the distance that there is someone on the screen. Hopefully you can see my cursor online. She's a flight director from a Challenger Center talking to a group of kids wherever they might be. There's a cool 2-minute video. I'm afraid that if I try to show that 2-minute video, we'll take another 10 minutes. So I might just try to show that at the end when we can play with this a little bit, rather than put you guys all through that again. Plus, the people online will only be able to hear it. So maybe we'll just go with me describing it. What I love about Satellite Challenge is that we actually created our Satellite Challenge at the beginning of COVID, when we had to suddenly send kids home, we figured out a way to partner with Blue Origin and others to build a moon mission that kids could participate wherever they live. And then we stopped using it because everybody was tired of virtual programming. But when I got the Challenger Center last summer, I'm like, this is really a great product. Why don't we market this nationally? Why don't we figure out a way to work through this? And so Blue Origin is actually helping us refresh the Destination Moon campaign. What I love about it and what teachers have loved about it is that they don't have to become experts in technology. They just have to get kids onto computers, and they're being led by a live person from one of our trained educator from one of our flight director from one of our NASA, from one of our Challenger centers. By the way, let me just say to a group of people at NASA, it is so hard to stop saying we when I talk about NASA. It's hard. Are you guys? Does it eventually stop? You know? No. It gets a little confusing.
No, it doesn't.
All right, voice of experience kicks in. Yeah, sometimes people in the office are like, when you say we, did you mean us or did you mean NASA? Like, good clarifying question. So satellite challenges are aimed at 5th through 8th graders. If you happen to know, maybe you have a grandkid somewhere and you said, I'm looking for a super unique birthday party for my grandkid who lives wherever, it doesn't matter. We would love to help you with that. So I think we just this morning went live with a website where you can go in and you can look for a particular time. You can go in and say, hi, I'm our apartment and I'm signing up. I'm looking for a time, and it pops up a calendar that tells you when the dates are available, and you pick a time and you can have your kids work it out. It's $400 for a 75-minute experience. There's some pre-work that goes ahead of time. So if you're a classroom educator or an after-school program or a Webelos Den group, we would love to be able to take kids through an experience like this. So more to come. I promise you this video is awesome, but like I said a moment ago, I won't put you through that process, so maybe we'll try that towards the end. I want to shift now to talking a little bit about alumni, people that have come through. So the first person I'm going to talk about is Kenny Harris. Kenny's amazing. He went to the Challenger Learning Center in Lanham, Maryland. It's right outside the gates of the Goddard Space Flight Center. It's the only center that's near a NASA center. And he came in elementary school, and then he said, this is so awesome. He came back for summer camp. And then through that experience, he became an intern at Goddard. He worked as the deputy lead integration engineer on the Webb Space Telescope. And now he works for the Aerospace Corporation. He just joined our board as an alumni rep, because as we go into our next 40 years, we need to think about those kids who maybe weren't alive during the shuttle tragedy, but were impacted by our programs. And so how do we connect with them? How do we have them be part of it? And Kenny has been awesome. This next person is actually, I know you guys in the room are wondering, is that a really young person up front? I'm really waiting to kind of introduce. Yeah, this is Jessica Grabantine. And Jessica, we come up over here. So I'm gonna let Jessica tell you her story. Just look this way and then.
Perfect. All right. Is this a good volume for everybody? Perfect. All right. So my name is my name is Jessica Grabantine. I attended the Challenger Center in Paramus, New Jersey. So absolutely nowhere near any of the NASA centers, but I had loved space ever since I was 3 years old. And I tried to find any opportunity to pursue that passion. And my local Challenger Center became the home for that. I spent basically every summer there between 5th grade and high school. And then I ended up volunteering to help out with some of the camps in my high school years. Eventually, I ended up attending Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, graduated with a bachelor's in spaceflight operations in 2023. And I also had the opportunity to present at the International Astronautical Congress in Paris in 2022. And that all led me here. So I have been here for about 2.5 years. I am a biomedical flight controller for the ISS program. I have absolutely loved it. It's been a really great few years here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
No, not very
Okay,
often.
all right.
My family has since moved away from the area, so last time I was there was probably when I graduated high school.
Where's Paramus? Tell them where Paramus is.
Yeah, Paramus is right outside of New York City, so like the northeast corner of New Jersey.
All right, so I'll just tell you a story that we're always looking for alumni. And somehow, I think I was there. I think I visited Paramus, New Jersey, and saw our Challenger Center and said, I'm looking for people that work here. They, oh, you have to meet Jessica. And so we actually have a whole blog post about Jessica and her experiences. And then this summer we hosted, once a year we bring all of our Challenger Centers to a single location. We were in Hammond, Indiana this summer, which is a suburb of Chicago. And on Thursday night we had kind of this closing dinner and so we had a Zoom session where Jessica and a teacher who worked here at JSC who had brought her fourth grade class, and David, I forgot my David, he now runs the HERA facility here on campus. And so yes, thank you, Dave Thompson. So to be able to have these people, the people who are now working at Johnson Space Center, be able to talk to our community. Now remember, if you're from Hammond, Indiana, or Duke, Kentucky, or Hazard, Kentucky, you don't know people from NASA, right? You're playing one on TV, so to speak. Kids are coming in. To be able to hear Jessica's story and to hear the impact that Challenger made for, I don't know, how long ago, how many years were you with Paramus? Probably 7 or 8 years, probably.
Probably, yeah.
And then what are you doing now? So talk a little bit more about how you're.
Yeah. So my current role, So my current role, I'm a biomedical flight controller. So I work in mission control for the ISS program. My role is really focused on crew health and safety. So we manage all the exercise equipment on board and all the medical equipment in the case of an unfortunate medical event. And yeah, we do a lot. We do routine health exams on the crew members, making sure everyone is healthy. We work very closely with the flight surgeons.
What do you remember most about your mission? Can you remember back to your very first mission and what connected for you?
Yeah, my first mission was in 5th grade. My Young Astronauts Club in my middle school did a little field trip there. And I just remember being absolutely amazed. I thought finally there was a place where I could really like be around people who love the same thing that I do, which is kind of rare to find in the middle of New Jersey.
Do you remember what role you had?
Oh, I think I was medical.
Medical.
Yeah, which is funny enough where my career led.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you remember what mission or what you guys were doing?
I think it was the Rendezvous with Comet Halley.
Okay.
And I was the medical role.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Will you guys give a round of applause for coming? Here to answer questions that may come up too. So what you might know, just to share a little bit more about Challenger Center. So when you walk in, when the kids walk in, there's 18 different roles. There's 9 roles in mission control and 9 roles on the spacecraft side. Depending on what the teacher picked, they could be going to Mars, they could be going to rendezvous with a comet, they could a moon, they could have an Earth mission. And so the kids may not know what they're coming into, but that's such a cool story that you got to do medical and then here you're doing BME. That's just really, really cool. Love it. So I want to share with you this donor spotlight. You guys would know this name, Bob Seek. It's a fun story in my mind. I started this job, I told you, in early December, and I came in, I think it was the first week of February, like we just celebrated the 39th anniversary. And I came in and there's this check for $6,000 on my desk. And let me just say, we're a small organization. We don't have a lot of people giving checks, and we don't have a lot of people giving $6,000 checks. And I read it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Lisa's going to start something. So I opened it up and I called Bob and I said, because I knew who Bob Seek was. He didn't know who Mike Kincaid was, but I definitely know who Bob Seek was. And I said, tell me a little bit about how this came to be. He said, well, I was going through my memorabilia and I decided I had the signed crew picture because he was, a key person at Kennedy Space Center. I said, I needed to pass it on. And so I put it up for an auction site and I donated all the proceeds to Challenger. So we also, this little QR code will take you to a blog post about Bob. And I'm so excited because Bob Cabana got me to let me go speak to the National Space Club in Florida 3 weeks ago. And Bob,
They have the camera on. See this red thing up here? It's so small.
We need somebody to mute.
Here. The guy said don't leave it on because
Susan Bramer needs to mute.
that work?
I'm not worried about it now that I realize.
Okay, everybody online, please mute. Everybody online, please mute. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. We should be able to go back to this one.
Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, it's great. Bob talked about being a part of a team, and so it's really great to be able to recognize him and thank him in front of the community in Florida. So I want to switch subjects a little bit to talk about the 40th anniversary. As I mentioned, last week was the 40th anniversary of the accident. We're getting ready to celebrate our 40th anniversary as an organization. And one of the things I'll just share with you is that each of the learning centers have been working on celebrating that. So we got some great coverage of kids being in Hammond, Indiana. And actually, I got some great pictures from from Paramus last week. Sorry, wrong Pete. And to be able to say, yes, this terrible tragedy happened, but to be able to say what came out of it. And we had a great article from CNN that came out that kind of celebrated what Challenger Center's been able to do since then. So it's been really nice. And we created a specific lesson plan for each of the crew members that goes along with it that Challenger Centers or their teachers could use back in their classrooms. And then the next thing is, when I got to Challenger Center, my first month I was reading June Scobie Rogers, the wife of the commander and our founding chair. She wrote a book, and I was reading the book, and in the book she talks about how she and Krista and Barb Morgan spent a bunch of nights around her kitchen table thinking about how they could reach kids during Krista's mission. And it really stood with me, and I asked June about it, and she was telling me all about it. And actually, Barb Morgan and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. They really thought about ways that we could reach kids. And I thought, as we go into the 40th year and we think about the next 40 years, we're proud of what we've done at Challenger Center. But why don't we recognize other organizations that have made a big difference in the last 40 years? Because we didn't do it alone. This is when I use this line all the time when I was at NASA OSTEM. If you want to go fast, it's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And to reach kids in this country and get them to think about STEM careers, no one organization can do it all. It requires all of us working together. And so we've picked about a dozen organizations that we'll be slowly recognizing during the year, during our 40th anniversary, to recognize them for the work they're doing. And so this morning I went to Space Center Houston. I mentioned to you before that today is their kickoff to the Space Exploration Educators Conference, or SEEC, and to recognize them as the first recipient of, hey, we see you. We see what you've been doing 32 years later. They have been reaching educators in amazing ways. And so I'll be with Space Grant later this month, and I can't tell any other ones because I haven't told them that they've won this, that we're recognizing with this activity. But I think it's important that we work together to make a difference for kids today. I'll digress in here and tell another story. I have to admit, I was the education director here at Johnson from 2000 to 2006. I ran external relations, which included education, for probably another 7 years. And I was the head of education, or what we call STEM engagement at NASA, for 7. And in all those years, I'd only been at Challenger Center once, and there wasn't any kids in the day that I was there. So here I take this job, and someone said, you need to come visit. And I told them I want to visit Challenger Center. And the lady in Wheeling, West Virginia said, well, that's nice that you're going to come, but you need to come when kids are here. I'm like, great. So she called a local 7th grade classroom, and they came over, and there are these 2 young girls, and they're in what we call a remote operating vehicle, the ROVE, and they're busily trying to get instructions from their crewmate who's in mission control. And I walk in dressed like I am now, in a business suit, right? And I walk up and go, girls, how's it going? And this one girl, she turned to me, looks at me, and goes, it's fine. And then she turned back to do what she's doing. And I'm like, at first, you guys will get this at first, I'm from NASA. Why aren't you stopping to talk to me? And then I finally took it in. I stepped back and I went, there's this countdown clock ticking. Her teammates are trying to get her to accomplish something. She's got a set of instructions she's trying to do with her colleague. And some yahoo in a business suit is bobbing her. And that story resonates for me, because to see this look of intense concentration on these 2 young 7th grade girls will stick with me for the rest of my life. Just that moment, I can still see it, right? And Jessica, I think about your story when you shared with us, hey, I'm in Paramus. I'm doing medicine work, and I found my club. found my tribe, you can see that in kids. You can kind of see how they find their connection point and that this is something that they can do. Another story I'll digress for just a second and say, because again, you guys will relate to this. Some guy named Hart Hartman made me become the co-op manager from 1992 to 1998. True story, I didn't want to do it at first, but I'm so grateful I did. And it was such a fun time. But in 1992 to 1998, probably every fifth or sixth student, I would ask the standard question, why are you applying here at NASA? And about every fifth or sixth student would say, I was in my third or fourth or fifth grade classroom, and Mrs. So-and-so brought in the TV, and I watched Challenger, and right then and there, I knew I wanted to work for the space program. And so it's funny to me that this national tragedy did impact kids in this long-lasting way that I could still see. Now they're all 20, 21, 22 in this time period. So it's interesting to see how these formative experiences can affect our career choices on down the road. So all that to say, as we recognize the next 40 years, we got to do it together to make a difference with kids. Next thing I'll show you here is 2 weeks ago, I was down here with, thank you to I mentioned this before, thanks to the NASA Alumni League for helping to publicize this. We were really excited, had 100 plus people over at Bayhep. Thank you to Stella and Sylvia, who's here in the room, for really being I came down in November and said, okay, this is why I have my idea. How can we pull this off? And they both were really great about, have you thought about this? And no, that's a stupid idea. Don't do that. They said much nicer than that. So it really was fun to be able to have Wayne and Mike L.A. and the author Adam Higginbotham join us. In fact, I will just say we had some books there. Adam signed them. I happen to have 16 others. So if you would like a signed copy of Challenger, I'll show you in a moment how you could only those in person. If you're online, sorry, I can't help you. But although if you email me, I probably can. But anyway, I have them in them. If you're interested in a signed copy, I'd love to sell them and not take them back to Washington, D.C. with me. So how can you join us? You've been listening to me patiently. You've been walking through the IT issues. I want to share a couple of ways that if you're interested, you can help. Number one, you can contribute any amount. This QR code will take you to our website. If you spend $10, you'll start getting emails from us about what we're doing. You'll get a welcome series of emails that talks about what we're doing, and you can decide, hey, do I want to stay more involved? Do I want to get more involved? The next one is we created something called the Challenger Core. The idea is that people who give at least $400 a year, either $40 a month or $400 a year, we'll put you in a pool where you get special messages from me. We're thinking about some special things that we'll be doing this next year to invite people to be part of that. So we'd love to have you consider being in our inaugural class of Challenger Core members. Next, I'd love for you to share about Challenger Core or Challenger Center on social media. You guys are NASA people. I'm surprised and yet not surprised. There's so many people when I tell people at NASA, hey, I'm now the president and executive director of Challenger Center, they go, oh, great. And then you can immediately see that they're like thinking, what is that? and that's understandable because we typically don't have Challenger Centers near NASA centers. And so you don't find, and Challenger Centers, it's not like you would say, oh, I'm going to be in Waco next week. I'll drop in and go look at the Challenger Center. Well, only if you come in a classroom with 29 other kids on a yellow school bus. So it's not really the kind of place that's a destination. It is for those kids, but it's not for the casual person. So for you to share about Challenger Center, share the video we just watched, or if those in the room got to watch, would love to help us work with that. And then the next one, I'm not expecting you to do all these things. I'm giving you lots of choices to choose from. Perhaps you really have some group that you're like, you know what? My nephew or my niece or some person I met really would love something like a satellite challenge. And I showed you a couple of slides ago. You can buy one online and give it away. There are people across the country. Dottie Metcalf Lindenberg, former astronaut, one of our educators, selected as an educator astronaut. She's our incoming chair for Challenger Center. She was in Morocco with the State Department, and we delivered a satellite challenge to a group of kids in Morocco. And when I think about the future, when I think about those kids being able to interact with, they had a real live astronaut there. I mean, it's pretty hard to replicate, but they're still talking to someone in a blue flight suit from a Challenger Center, accomplishing a mission together. So I think there's some opportunities for us to work. And the last thing I just have to say is thank you to the NASA Alumni League, the education committee. Somehow, some committee just gave us $800. So thank you very much. The board in general gave it to us. Okay, I give everybody credit for that. That will allow us to have 2 more satellite challenges that we'll be able to offer. And they said, hey, how can we figure out how to do that in Texas? So we'll be visiting with our colleagues, and both Waco and Harlingen are set up to deliver the satellite challenges. So I just want to say a special thank you for making that possible. And this last page, if you are, in all seriousness, I really do have 16 books that are signed by the author. If you'd like one, this page will take you to a place where you can buy it and you can pay for it. And if you show me the little thing that says you paid for it, I will give you a book. And or if you're supporting Challenger, happy to have you do that as well. So this is where Lisa said, talk for about 30 minutes. How long did I do? Yeah, about 30 minutes. I did pretty good. Okay. And then take questions from the audience. Questions can be from me. They can also be from our much more interesting, perhaps, Jessica, who's up here as well. We can talk about her life experience too.
All right, thank you.
Right, so appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thanks to everybody both in the room as well as online. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen so we can get back to everybody else in the audience. There you are. Thank you very much. And there's a bunch of stuff out in the chat, so I'm just going to bring up the chat. See if I can chat with everybody again. All right. Okay, so it looks like a lot of it is really about all the challenges that we were having. But if you're online and you have some questions that you would like to ask of Mike, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll try to keep up with those. But we're going to start off by taking any questions that somebody might have from the room. Oh, you didn't wait very long to get your hand up. Okay, let me come here.
You may have mentioned it, but why aren't the Challenger Centers next to NASA Centers? Do they conflict of interest?
Yeah, great question. So she asked, the question was, why don't we see Challenger Centers next to NASA Centers? I think there could be next to NASA Centers that don't already have, well, in fact, for Kennedy, Marshall, Johnson, there's huge visitor centers that are built to accommodate literally millions of people. And so,
right. Sorry, wait. Sorry. To that.
There you go. All right, now we can mute. That's all good. So for those places, like I was saying before, on a good day in Waco, there's 60 kids that will come through the experience. So I would say it's high quality individual experience, like Jess was talking about. For a museum or science center, like I was talking to, I won't say which one. We still have 3 that are museums of science. When I asked them, so why don't you have more challenges? He said, well, because if we go to elementary school and they have 5 buses of kids coming, and I tell them that only 2 of the 5 classrooms coming, I tell them only 2 can go for Challenger and the rest can't. I'm starting World War III with kids. I totally get it. He said, so I market Challenger Centers to, homeschool groups, private schools, places where they can get to in a day. So one of the reasons why we have added satellite challenges is so that we reach kids. That's right. They can't see me. Right. Come back here so you can see me. And hear me too. Shucks. Okay. We'll get there. So that's why. So we do have one outside of Goddard. It's only partially working at the moment. We're working with the school board there to refresh it. And I think that one will work really well because there's not a big visitor center next to Goddard. Mm-hmm. So I think for centers that don't have it, then it could work. Like I could see something, I could see some places, but in general, I started to tell this before we started. What's interesting to me, maybe I started to say this as a larger group, the next 3 in the pipeline are in rural locations across the United States. I think I started to tell you that there's one in Alabama, one outside of Pittsburgh, and then the next one is in Iowa and South Dakota. Yeah, I did start. So thanks for the question.
A follow on to that, I noticed that most of them are on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Why? Yeah.
Why not on the West?
Repeat the question. Yeah. The question was, why are most Challenger centers on the East Coast? I would love to know that too. So Camille, great question. I will say too, at our highlights or our high mark, I think we had 50 Challenger centers at one point, so we were bigger.
Oh.
And there have been several that have closed. I'm just amongst friends, right? So I'll just share my insider view. This is what I'd say. I think there was a period, when you've been in an organization for 40 years, there was a period of time where we were building challenger centers that hadn't really thought through what it's going to take for them to have the sustainability over the long haul. And so we spent much more time. We don't grow nearly as fast as we did at one point, but there's a lot of effort on. Okay, you can. By the way, a brand new challenger center, just the challenger center itself is $2.5 million.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. But we had Owen Garrett, who astronaut. Well, his dad was an astronaut, and then I'm sorry, Richard Garriott, sorry, the son, who came as a private astronaut. Mm-hmm. He talked about how this can be a transformative thing. And if you think about that, that's actually not very expensive when you can put it across a 20-year experience. So I'll kind of rambling to your question, Camille, but having someone open something and be able to keep it running is critical. Mm-hmm. And so the one in Alabama has a federal earmark, but they also got the states to give them $8 million to build the Challenger Center and build the building that goes around it. And they'll be able to, because they paid for all those costs up front, the variable cost of keeping it open every year, they'll be fine. They have the plan for maybe 20 to 25 years. Okay, what are we going to do then? That's what we find is the Challenger Centers need a pretty heavy facelift, the 20 to 25 year mark. Great question. Thank you. Do you have a question, or you just?
Yes, I'm all about the money.
Sure.
And it is fascinating. I volunteered at Hemphill for the 10th anniversary and the 20th. And so this interests me. When I went to the 10th, a man had donated Patricia Smith's there at Hemphill.
Yeah.
East Texas is another world.
It is. I'll repeat your question in a minute. Mm-hmm.
I only remember sort of your picture of the United States.
Yeah.
So back to her question, I thought you were pretty, I mean, I'm not saying you weren't more East Coast than West Coast, but you certainly look to be pretty everywhere.
So the question, so you have several points you brought up. Let me repeat. So one is, if you look west of Texas, there's only one in Colorado Springs, Spokane, and Southern California.
Is that right?
There's just those three, but in the middle there's a decent number, and then there's a lot, somewhat population based too. I mean, there's obviously more population in the east as well.
I'm a military brat.
Yeah.
And so Colorado Springs is Air Force.
Right. Great location.
And I've never been, just graduated from an Air Force type area. Yeah. And so I could grasp that the astronauts that come in, and I started here in '76.
Okay.
And I relate to, I've been to Goddard. I came here from Lewis.
Oh, okay, sure.
Only it was called something, I was Lewis when I was there.
Right,
I had no idea there was an NASA in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right, that's still an issue in Cleveland.
We've got 9 centers, and most people think of KFC and JSC.
Right. So what I'd say this, the other part of your question, just to repeat for those back at home, she asked about, thank you guys for posting the video. Thank you. Mm-hmm. She asked about Hemphill. I think actually Hemphill would be the kind of place that would be a perfect location for a Challenger Center, because it's in East Texas. It's kids in Hemphill are not going to get on a school bus. Well, maybe they would, but typically most kids in East Texas are not going to get on a bus and come all the way to Space Houston. We are having conversations with, I'll be intentionally vague, with some organizations north of Houston, because I think they're far enough away from Space Center Houston that it could work. So again, they have to be someplace that is okay. This is the story I started to tell you. Our most recent, a lot of the pictures you saw, from those of you who could see the video, it was in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. It's a suburb of Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And they got no federal money to open up their Challenger Center. But what was interesting is their community college president said, I'm looking for something to revitalize my kind of Rust Belt city. And I spend $1 million a year. That's the story she told me. She said, I was spending $1 million a year on advertising. Mm-hmm. And I decided that if I redirected that money and I had 5,000 middle school kids on my campus every year, that was the best form of advertising for them and for their parents. Mm-hmm. And I thought, by the way, we take lots of people to go visit her in her center with that thinking. So we are talking to community colleges in Texas and other places. I think that is a logical place. They tend to be very intense and in tune, with their local community. So community colleges, I think, are a great partner for us. several of our next centers are deeply involved with community college. So if someone were to say, hey, we really want to start with an hempel, my first thing would be go find a community college who really is paying attention to the workforce development in the area, who might be interested in championing something like this. So thanks for the question.
Okay. Larry, I see that you have your hand up, and I see that you also posted something in the comments. You posted a YouTube video. Probably not a good idea for us to try to run it right now, but do you have a specific question that you wanted to ask? Coming to you, Larry. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can unmute yourself if you wanted to ask a question.
There it is. Yeah. This is a short video of a project that took place in 1986, involved 400 students, and used a technique called the HyperNet paradigm, which is a precursor to STEM, that involved building a replica to Challenger. It's actually stunning. It may be the most stunning project I've actually worked on. If you just take a look at the first few seconds of the video, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is a life-size replica, interior controls, visitor center, and a teaching tool. And it was done with the participation of 100 companies in the Bay Area that contributed to this. Shocking. Actually, absolutely stunning how this was accomplished.
Here's what I would suggest. I'm going to give you my email address because you saw how hard it was for us to show a video here. If you'll send me this link, my email is mkincaid@challenger.org. Maybe Ellen or Debbie or someone can type that in for me and send it to me. I'd love to take a look at it. So
Sure. Let me get that again. Well, it's
Sure.
on the posting, right? It's on
I
the
can also get it. That makes sense. Thanks, Larry.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I see Alex. Thanks for reminding me that we need to move the camera a little bit so you can see more of me and not just my nose. It takes a village, so I appreciate your patience.
It does, yeah. All right.
Allison's question.
So more of a personal question rather than Challenger Center.
Sure.
In transitioning from NASA to a nonprofit board with very probably slightly different paradigm and different priorities and things like that. What has been the biggest struggle for you in making that transition?
Yeah. For those of you at home, Allison, I did not pay her to ask me this question. She was asking, what's the most difficult element of the transition from the federal government to a nonprofit? And it's such a great question. And it's actually a multifaceted answer. I'd say a couple things. One is, to go from being an ASM engagement with $140 million to, a Challenger Center that was negative 300,000. I shouldn't say that out loud. So we had to work. I got there, and there's some budget issues to work through. But honestly, I had budget issues at Johnson Space Center too. That's not new. I got plenty of experience. And in OSTEP, that's right, Camille. So I kind of like that. That part was fine. I think I really I love my time at NASA. I really did. I still look back on it fondly. But 7 years is a long time to be an associate administrator in NASA headquarters. And I'm really grateful to my successor. Her name, for those of you who might have come across her name, Elaine Ho. She's amazing. She's just amazing. And she's the right person for the job now. So I'm really grateful to hand it in to someone who's really doing some great stuff. I think the thing that my team would tell you, they're like, Mike has too many ideas for the size of the team that we are. But honestly, the people at OSTEM would say that too. So it's not unique to but true. I mean, having a team of 75 civil servants and 150 contractors going to a team of 14, it's different. But I also think it's been really fun. So thanks for the question. And I'll say this too. I don't know if any of the retired lawyers are in the room that I'm going to offend at the statement, but in the interview, they asked me, what are you looking forward to the most? I said, well, at NASA, at the time, I don't know what there is now. At NASA, there's 150 lawyers for 18,000 people, and they're all very, very busy. And they know, and they're great people. I'm good friends with many of them. I'm really glad to go to some place where there is not a lawyer on staff. We go to lawyers occasionally when we need them, not nearly as much. And by the way, I'm not throwing shade at them. It's just a government agency that spends $25 billion a year needs a lot of lawyers to make sure they're doing it fairly. A nonprofit doesn't need that. So I've loved having the flexibility that nonprofits have. I think the other thing though is how do we build partnerships? And so to tie back to that earlier comment, when I visit with you and Sylvia and others, to have organizations like the last NASA alumni, they come alongside and say, I see what you're doing, we want to be a part of that. Building that team effort to be able to accomplish things has been something I would say I had that at NASA. That's not new, but to be able to do it in a nonprofit space has been a lot of fun. So thanks for the question.
Why did you want to go to a nonprofit? You could have gone to a for-profit as an executive leader.
Yeah, so Camille asked me, why did I want to go to a nonprofit and not to a for-profit? I did consider it. I mean, I did visit with people in I'll say some of the big companies and some of the medium-sized companies. I wasn't opposed to it per se, but what I love about a nonprofit is what I think we have in government service is that there's a greater good at work. You know, I have to make sure that we bring in more revenue. I had someone at NASA headquarters tell me 2 weeks ago, well, you're a charity, you should just do this for free. And I said, that's not how it works. Just because we're a nonprofit doesn't mean that we spend more money than we bring in. You know, it was just so funny to me. So I do think that what we share with nonprofits is what government has is that there's a greater good that you're accomplishing. And I really do like that. And at the end of the day, I like that my primary purpose is to put more kids through an education experience and not to make sure that shareholders got a little bit more money this year. Not that there's anything wrong with it. My 401k likes the fact that, you know, companies are off doing these things. But I think it was, for me, it's another part of your question is, as I talked to different people, what I really wanted to do is something that would make a difference and had a national imprint. And when Challenger Center came open as a possibility, this uses my background in human spaceflight, you know, new astronauts, was here for Columbia and what that was like for us as a workforce. And so Challenger brought, it hit a lot of the check marks for me. Thanks for that question. Any other? All right.
We've got them all afternoon. So.
I could ask a lot of.
Anybody else? Any other questions for Mike before we share Liz on society to do more good? Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we'll get some photographs.
Okay.
All right.
I have to show you my phone.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I want the book.
Oh,
right.
Oh,
So,
good. All right. Here, okay.
All right.
Here,
So,
I'll show you.
all right. So, are there any questions online? Y'all have been surprisingly kind and very, very quiet. But does anybody online? Okay. Yeah. So this is the book that we're talking about. See if we can get it to.
Well, you can't really see
See
it,
if I
but
can
we promise she's
find
holding
the
the book.
camera. I am holding a
It is
book.
online.
Okay,
It is
so
online.
the book that we're talking about here, it's called Challenger: The True Story of Heroism and Disaster on the Edge of Space. It's a fairly new print. It's written by Adam Higginbotham, and I've.
Let me just add and say you can buy this cheaper on Amazon.
Okay.
But it won't be autographed and you won't be benefiting Challenger Center. So that's all I'm saying. So it's $30. Thank you for I meant to say it. It's $30 if you buy this limited edition. Not really. It's a signed edition here in the room. But for those of you who are back home, you can buy it on Amazon. And I will also say, Adam did a really good job. I think most of the people I've talked to felt like he did a very thorough job of telling about Challenger. And for someone like myself who was in college and came to NASA in 1987, right as we were getting ready for return to flight, I found that really helpful to understand kind of what life was like, and I could see how it happened. And actually, I'll tell the rest of the story too. When I was reading the book, I got to a section where it said, we quoted Estella Gillette and Sylvia Sotomayor, and I emailed both of them and said, hey, you both mentioned this book. Did you like the author? And they both thought, yeah, it was really good. And they introduced me to Adam, and I've had a number of conversations with Adam. He's been great. So anyway, thank you for reminding me to show people what the book is, and for those that can buy it.
That's Michael.
No, I just bought it. Oh, did you just bought one?
That's
Oh, it's hers. Okay.
My copy.
I've got 16. So and they're supposed to set it up so it can't sell 17.
You have 15.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes. Yep.
I'm in chapter 8. Chapter 8, yeah, Mike and Adam interviewed me for the better part of the day. Chapter 8 is called The Great Tile Caper. So for those of you who don't know, I helped build Columbia and Challenger, specifically with respect to tile and everything else. So you get a real good feel for what that was like. And I've also just put a book out called Confessions of a NASA Whistleblower, Coming of Age Space Odyssey, in which the Challenger Memorial, which is now posted as a link, is described in great detail. And just rush over it, I was teaching a class of 400 students at UC Berkeley. We were going to get Krista McAuliffe's lesson piped into our class. It had all been prearranged. And when Challenger went down, I walked into a room full of the press and people just had no idea. They were asking me what happened. And, like everybody else at the moment, who knew what happened, right? But the students were so upset about all this. And I asked, well, how can we change the class? And one of them said, why don't we build a memorial? And that occupied the next 5 years. And that's actually more of a stunning project than many of the ones that I've worked on at NASA, which is quite a few. So I urge you to take a look at the video. And I can send you details of how this went together, because it's remarkable, really, from nothing with no money to build something that had 10,000 tile on it and had the computers inside and had astronauts visiting in class. It's shocking. And it was all done because of the emotion and the desire to do something and make this into a teaching tool, which it was for 10 years. So it's I know full well what the power of this kind of message can be, and I applaud you because it is a
Okay.
full-time job. Applaud you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. We're going to go ahead and close it off here. So if we can go ahead and have everybody give Mike a really warm hand for sharing all these stories with us. And at this point, since there were no questions typed into the chat, we're going to go ahead and end the Zoom.
Can I say one thing? I just want to say a special, I see Vicky and Paul on here, 2 other people I worked for many years, so I didn't get a chance to say hi to. Sorry, go ahead.
Shout out to everybody online. Okay.
Hello,
Thank
Mike.
you so
How
much.
are you? It's great to see you.
And now this is going to be recorded. You'll be
Yeah.
able to watch this and
Right.
hear yourself forever and ever. So thanks, everybody.